In today's video, I'm going into will your likability be affected if you speak up? So thank you for joining me. I am AmyC with You Finding You. And if you check out in the dialog box below, I've links to my Patreon, which I go into connecting deeper into yourself and into a body awareness. Gaining that awareness, you then start to learn who you truly are and who you want to be in the world. So check that out and you can start fine-tuning who you are and really step into it for yourself. So continuing the theme this week on having a voice, finding a voice, I was thinking about how for myself, I have always not spoken up. I've not said or voiced anything. And I was even stating in the previous video how I would just take on other people's opinions and then that became my opinion, which again at the time I was happy to do that. But over time, I've been wanting to be able to step into my own power and step into this place within me and be able to voice it, to be able to speak up and say something. And so recently I was at the airport checking in and I went into one of those self check-ins and, got my baggage tag and got the ticket and everything. And next to me, there was a couple and this guy calls over one of the ticket agents and his voice, the way he was speaking was like, "You're wrong. This is not working. Fix it." And his energy behind it was so like, "You're wrong." And his comments were even like, "I've never worked with such stupid, ignorant people." Like he was really critical. And of course, that is not what I'm talking about when I say speaking up. That will affect your likability and you won't be liked. So notice the energy behind what you want to say. So that's the first thing I want to mention is what place are you coming from? This guy was angry. He probably needed to catch his flight, was stressed. So he was like throwing out all these criticisms. And like I heard the ticket agent say, well, this is for the PNR on this is for British Airlines and we're American Airlines, so the PNR is not going to work. And he just was still so critical of them. You're ignorant, you're not helping me. And it's like, well, they will over at the counter. And so she was directing them, to help him, but his tone of voice and his attitude was like, this isn't working and you're not helping me. And so, of course, that affected everyone around them. They eventually, he and his wife, did go up to the counter and get help. But I'm standing there going, okay, I need to now check my bag. Like I have put the baggage ticket on and I need to go up to the counter. Well, it's the same ticket agent that was helping them. And she was now in a bad mood. Like you could tell she was just, like that was not fun. Of course, I wouldn't want to be treated that way either. So I actually did say something. I said, wow, that was not a very nice experience. Like that guy was very rude to you. Like his tone of voice and his attitude came across so much that I just was like, wow, this is not fun experience and I would not want to be treated that way. So I expressed it to her and man, that changed the whole mood right there. Like that helped her shift because I'm sure if she, like me, I would have been feeling the same way of like, wow, like this person just really, kept just throwing things at me that in such a harsh way. And it would take me and make me feel bad. But to then be acknowledged and say, that was not appropriate behavior towards you, then it's like, oh, thank you. You have someone else saying that. And all I had to do was check my bag, but we ended up having a nice dialogue then, rather than me standing there going, oh, this is so uncomfortable because she's in a bad mood now. Instead, we were able to shift that energy. So when I say speak up, I did not speak up to that guy. Like to actually stand up and say something. He was in a very angry, probably stressed again, place that if I actually spoke up and said something, I'd be getting the brunt of it too. So in that moment, I chose not to say anything to him, but I was able to shift things with the ticket agent. So in this case, it's like, where are situations when you have been kind of like, oh, these things don't feel very good, you know? And I know I have gone into cafes or restaurants and the person serving me is kind of in a bad mood and they're rah, rah, rah. You can feel the energy from them. You can just tell by their kind of sharpness or pointedness. And I've even just acknowledged, oh, it's one of those days, or acknowledged that I'm seeing that she is in a tough place or angry place, and or even just saying, is everything okay? You know, are you doing okay today? Acknowledging this person for where they're at, and it has shifted things. So this is just one example of speaking up or saying something, because I don't want to sit in and interact with someone that's in a bad place, a bad mood, and it doesn't even relate to me. Now, another situation of speaking up is one, like I was talking about in the previous video too, of having your own opinion, being able to state it, share it. And so a few years ago, I was getting to know a friend through a community that we were hanging out together. And one day he and I were hanging out at lunch, and I thought, oh, you know, this is a really nice guy. I'd like to get to know him more. Maybe we can do things together. And so I even said, hey, you want to do coffee or lunch sometime? And so we did, and we went out and had a nice lunch. And every time I offered up things, I noticed he just went along with what I said. Like, hey, do you want to go to this restaurant or these things, or what would you like? And he'd never had his own opinion. He never shared his interests. So I started to kind of go, oh, this is disappointing for me, because I actually want someone that will share their interests, and then we can get to know each other. And hey, he might show me places or go to places that I've never been to. And yet that didn't happen. Instead, it was always me suggesting things. And what I realized is that I used to have that pattern in myself. And it was that I was too nervous about speaking up or sharing my own interests, my own opinions, because they might not be right. Right, you know, and I say right. And I also feared that I might lose that connection then. And so I just went along, again, like I had mentioned, I just went along with the group. I just went with wherever everyone else went. So in this case, though, it was just him and I hanging out. And after a while, I was like, man, it's nice, but I want more engagement. Like, I want us to be doing things, hanging out together. And if you want to share and do things, great. But it didn't go anywhere, because it was all like, he's just following along with what I'm doing. And so when I say, does speaking up, having a voice, actually shift your likability? In that case, him not speaking up actually kind of got to where I was like, I'm not really that interested in this connection, because I want to have and know your interests and know the things you like. I don't want you just to follow along with my things. Like, I actually want this back and forth, and for us to exchange ideas and share things, because he's going to come from a different place than where I am. And so it actually did kind of die out, this friendship, because it just was like, yeah, well, I'm not really getting more out of this. And again, I didn't want just someone to follow along and tag along with what I was doing. So in this case too, when I say, does it affect your likability? It actually did. Him not speaking up, I still thought he was a really nice guy, but I wanted more in that connection. I wanted to actually have us doing things together and sharing things together. And so him actually, if he had spoken up, really would have made that connection deeper, and really had a, you know, wealth that we could have played with and gone into. And coming from a place of sharing rather than I'm forcing these things onto you, you have to do it this way, I actually wanted us to be able to share and connect more. So I would be curious, and do put in the comments below if there are ways that you have been able to speak up and it affected your likability. So thank you again, guys, for joining me today. And if you are enjoying and getting value out of these videos, do hit that like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. I'll see you in the next video.